Well, we're Bob and Sharon Hilts, and we're missionaries in the former Soviet Union. And we've lived in this valley for a good part of our life. When we worked up at Hume Lake as program directors, managers for quite a few years, and then we went to the former Soviet Union right at a time when God had amazing things happening. And that's part of our story. So people ask us all the time, what do we do in the former Soviet Union? Well, God took us there at a very amazing time when communism had fallen in the early 1990s. And there were, most people there had no job, and hardly anybody was a Christian. It was an atheistic country. And at the same time, there were 38,000 camps that were a part of the education system to teach that God is dead and someday communism would rule the world. And when we went there, we started turning these communist camps into Christian camps. So what we do is we train leaders who are believers, and at that time there were many brand new believers. It was a huge time of revival. And so we would get from 25 to 1,300 people at a time in different seminars, teach them how to go in and run these Christian camps. So the short answer is we train people to run their own ministries, and we mentor them along the way until they've developed their programs. We have about 1,300 camps in 8 different countries. And we have trained over 3,500 leaders that are running ministries today that we work with. But we have camps in several Muslim countries where if we go in there, we expose the things. We've had camps that have been burned down, people thrown into jail, lots of real persecution that takes place. So we have to be a little bit careful about what we as Westerners do, and that's why the training is so perfect, and bringing them in and letting them go back to their own countries. And it is a problem in some countries we can't talk about.
We've had raids in the middle of the night. We've had to take children out over a mountain, those kinds of things. You would think they would go, wow, this is probably not something we should do. But no, it is so challenging to us to see what happens. They go around and find another way because they know what salvation means. It is so life-changing for them and so important to them to share it with these children that they find another way at their own, even though it's dangerous for them. So I'm always challenged by their dedication. It's amazing to me. This church, who's been with us from the start. Our membership has been here since 1976, 77, I don't know. We raised our children here while we were up at Hume Lake in this church. And so to have the people of this church in as a part of this, we couldn't do this without them. So without you, without the church.
To know that we have people here at home in our supporting church that are supporting and praying, and we know a lot of individuals that pray for us daily in this church, and it's a great support to us to know that that is behind us, and we really do appreciate it.
In terms of praying for us, one of the things that we face all the time is, where do we spend our time and energy? We've described all kinds of things. We've got so many irons in the fire. And we all know that if you're going to accomplish, you've got to focus. So where to spend our energy at this point in time. And then also just, as Bob mentioned, for safety, for travel, for safety and health.
I've just published a book that's called 5 Fishermen, Peter, Andrew, James, and John, that Jesus called, plus you or me, or whoever else is in God's plan to be a fisher of men. And I've written it because I've had a guiding business in Alaska for 34 years, where it's kind of my own personal little camp thing where I take 9 people at a time, and we do helicopters and boats and hiking in backcountry and all kinds of amazing things. So the book is about that. But the byline is, you'll never catch a fish unless you throw your line out. That God has called us all to be fishers of men.